What's the real miracle of Hanukkah? Is it the military victory? The fact that the Maccabees, a small group of zealous Jewish warriors, defeated the far larger and far more powerful Syrian Greek army? Or is it the miracle of the menorah? The fact that when the Maccabees successfully reclaimed the temple, they found a cruse of oil containing enough oil for just one night, but that cruse successfully lit the menorah for 8 nights, as we all know, a great miracle. Is the real miracle of Hanukkah the military miracle or the menorah miracle? The miracle of the sword or the miracle of the Spirit? And of course the answer is both, because there isn't a single miracle of Hanukkah. There are 2 great miracles of Hanukkah: the military miracle and the miracle of the oil. The miracle of the few triumphing over the many, and the miracle of light shining through in the midst of profound darkness. And both miracles are essential to the nature of the holiday. In our daily liturgy during Hanukkah, we add the Al Hanisim paragraph to the Amidah, which commemorates the military miracle. But every night, when we light the Hanukkah candles, we are performing a ritual which commemorates the miracle of the oil. Both miracles fundamentally contribute to the essence of Hanukkah. Today, at this moment in Jewish history, thousands of years after the Hanukkah story, Israel and the Jewish people are desperately in need of not one, but 2 miracles. Since October 7th, Israel has been as united as it has been in decades. All of the internal conflict that has characterized Israel for the past year has been set aside, because Israelis recognize that only when we are together, only when we are united as one, will we have any chance of winning this war. If you visit Israel today, you'll see signs everywhere that say things like Yachad Nenatzeach, together we will triumph, or Degel Echad, Mishpacha Echat, one flag, one family. And that's been the way it's really been in Israel for the past 2 months. But unfortunately, over the past couple of weeks, we have started to see that remarkable sense of unity begin to erode. There are 2 goals to this war: both the complete and total annihilation of the Hamas regime and the safe return of every single Israeli citizen currently being held hostage in Gaza. And until the temporary ceasefire last week, the Israeli public fully embraced both of those goals, and they refused to acknowledge that there was any tension between them. They believed that both defeating Hamas and bringing home every hostage were equally viable and equally significant goals of this war. But then we had the ceasefire, which made it very clear that it likely will not be possible, tragically, to achieve both goals. Because the only way to defeat Hamas is to continue the war, and the only way to bring home the hostages is to stop the war. Those 100+ hostages came home last week only because the fighting stopped. And in the not too distant future, it is very likely that Hamas will put an offer on the table: the return of all the remaining hostages in exchange for a full cessation of the war. Not a temporary ceasefire, an end to the war. And when that offer is made, it will create a rift in Israeli society, because some people feel that our absolute top priority must be defeating Hamas. Hamas represents an existential threat to the Jewish state and the Jewish people, and they can never be allowed to carry out something like October 7th again. They must be destroyed fully and completely. And the people who feel that are right. But other people, especially the families of the hostages, say that Israel's top priority in this war must be the safe return of every single Israeli citizen in Gaza. If Israel is not willing to do everything in its power to save its own people, to save Jewish lives, then what's the point of having a Jewish state? There are many people who feel that the return of the hostages is also an existential issue, because it's an issue that will define the character and the quality of the state of Israel for the rest of its history. And those people are also right. Every Friday night since October 7th, Rachel Goldberg, the mother of Hirsch Goldberg Poland, who is being held hostage in Gaza, stands outside of her house in Jerusalem and she screams the blessing that parents recite for their children on Shabbat. She screams that blessing at the top of her lungs in the hopes that maybe her son will be able to hear her in Gaza. All she wants, all she can think about is getting her son home. Is Israel supposed to tell Rachel Goldberg that they've given up on Hirsch, that they're abandoning her firstborn child? Of course they can't. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors experienced two great miracles: the military victory of Hanukkah and the spiritual victory of Hanukkah. And we need both, because without both, Hanukkah would not be Hanukkah. And today, at this moment in our history, Israel needs both victories, both miracles: the military defeat of Hamas and the return of every single hostage. Because without both, it won't be a true victory for Israel. When we recite the second blessing over the candles on Hanukkah, we say, Bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. We bless God for performing great miracles in those ancient days at this time. But what bazman hazeh really means in the context of that blessing is in this season or at this time of year. In other words, God performed miracles for our ancestors thousands of years ago at this time of year during the month of Kislev. But if you turn to page 243 in your Siddur Sim Shalom, and I'll give you a minute to open to that page if you'd like, you'll notice that in our Siddur, the language of that blessing has been changed. It doesn't say Bazman Hazeh. It says Uvazman Hazeh, which means and at this time. And it's a small linguistic change, but it is a profoundly important theological change. Because what that blessing now means is that God performed miracles for our ancestors in their time, and God continues to perform miracles for us in this time. And that liturgical change was made by the conservative movement because of the existence of the state of Israel. Because for the first time in 2,000 years, we have a state. We have a national homeland to call our own. That is the greatest miracle, and it's a miracle that is continuing to unfold in our days. And never has our state and our people needed that bracha, that blessing, as much as we do on this Hanukkah. Because on this Hanukkah, we are in desperate need of not one, but two great miracles. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim hahem uvazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, for performing miracles both in ancient days and in our time. And let us all say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom and Chanukah Sameach. We rise for Chatzi Kaddish, page 4.